Okay, good afternoon. I would like to call to order the Town of Sunset Beach, the tree board. We have our regular meeting this afternoon at 1:30 p.m. on February 18th, 2026. If you would please all stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first on our meeting, we need to take a look at the draft agenda for approval. Has everyone had an opportunity to take a look at the agenda?
No.
I don't have a packet.
I can share.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, that looks good.
Okay.
Do you like the second?
Do we need a second?
Second.
Right. So the draft agenda passes. All right, the next item on our agenda is approval of the minutes. You take a look at the minutes. If there's any corrections?
I did see those online. I saw those online, so I'm good.
You did see.
Mhm.
Okay.
We can just
Okay.
back up for 1 second.
Sure.
After the motion and the second, we should have a vote. Even though there's only 2 of you, there would be 3 people that are voting.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is my first meeting I'm presiding over, so I appreciate it.
It's my first meeting too.
Okay. All right. All in favor of approving the draft agenda?
Aye.
All right, so approved. Any comments on the minutes?
I move that we accept the minutes as written.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
We're going to be a team today.
Okay, so you will need a vote to approve the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right, minutes are approved. Next item on our agenda is public comments on agenda items only. Do we have any public comment? Okay. All right, then we'll move into old business. The first item is the 2026 educational opportunities. This was on our last month's agenda. We did have some discussion about that. We have our Arbor Day celebration that is coming up, so that we had that listed as an opportunity for some education potentially. That's on the agenda as well. We'll be talking about it in more detail. So we'll have an opportunity there for some educational, potentially pamphlets to hand out and that sort of thing, in addition to the celebration. We also have the Green Wave. We talked about having a specific tree board booth at Green Wave. Candace, I don't know if you had any further discussion with the ERC about that.
The Green Wave will be May 9th, and there is going to be a booth for the town, and I believe Tree Board will share space at the town booth. Is that correct?
I know we'll definitely have an ERC booth. That's where the ERC members can be kind of at the front greeting people as they come in. So either I can put a second booth next to it for the tree board, depending on how much you have, or you can share the space since there's a lot of crossover and membership. So it might make sense to just put everything together.
Is there going to be a separate town booth, or no? It'll just
No,
be
the police will have their own booth.
Mm-hmm.
I was just speaking with Stuart from the planning board. They're going to have a booth that will be near the Brunswick County Planning Commission, and then we'll have an ERC booth.
Perfect. So I guess it sounds like it would be up to the tree board if we feel like we need our own space. I don't know that we have to decide that today, but
We don't.
From the Green Wave side, we certainly would like the participation of the tree board. And there's lots of questions about what the tree board might be interested to do.
Sure, and I think with we will have had a year under our belt as a board, that we would have more to share in terms of our objectives and the things that we're working on. So I think it would be good to stand out a little bit more as the tree board. Those are my thoughts anyway.
And I believe the forestry, North Carolina forestry is coming. Is that correct? Do you remember? I thought I saw that on the list that they had already accepted. Okay. So it might be something if, because they're coming for Arbor Day, is that right? If there was a thought that maybe there would be something to do in common with them,
Sure.
to be near them.
So they're aware of our date, and I've asked them to commit to, if they could commit to that. So I don't have an affirmative answer yet. But there's either the district ranger that would attend, or Justin Bennett, who is the coordinator for the forestry service there. All right. So I guess there's some other opportunities that we had talked about in our last meeting, and I know they're a ways away. There are a couple items I had thought about that I wanted just to put out there. We've had some collaboration with the Sunset Beach Island Garden Club, and I think, Susan, you'd mentioned that there's also a Sea Trail Garden Club, and I wondered if maybe that's an opportunity to, again, some education on both sides, kind of once we're underway and we have more going on.
I know about the Sunset Beach one, but I don't know about Sea Trails.
Okay, maybe it wasn't you. I thought someone had
I
mentioned.
think
You can find that out.
Kathy Trent is part of the Sea Trail gardening group, but my understanding is that they're not actively gardening.
Okay.
Is that a good way to put that?
Okay.
It doesn't mean that there's not some chance to
Okay.
do something with them.
All right. The other thing, in preparation for this meeting, I looked at kind of the expectations and duty of our tree board, and one of the things that it mentioned that I think it's an opportunity for education is to reach out to schools and other civic organizations. So as we move further with our educational aspect, I think those are important to consider, especially with the children. So maybe that's something we can ponder on, discuss, and with each of these objectives and how we're organized and the fact that we're a smaller board, there's only 5 of us, my thought is that we should consider doing some of this by committee, which we've already done. So with the educational opportunities, and I'm just going to throw this out there for discussion. So if we were to have a small committee, Candace, you and I have been working together on some of this already. So, what are your thoughts on, as we talk about each of these objectives, we just kind of assign small committees to actually work through some of the tasks?
I think that makes sense. And because we're subject to quorum rules, we're a committee of 5. You can't have more than 2 people on one of these little subcommittees, right. And otherwise we'd have to bring it in here as a bigger discussion.
Sure.
But I like the ideas. And one of the things one of the Tree City requirements, I believe, is that on an ongoing basis, we provide educational opportunities and things during the year.
So I thought we should also reach out to other towns that have Tree City certifications so that we can find out what they have done. Some of them, I believe it's Carolina Shores, has had one, for a long time. So maybe, I tried to get in touch with with some people there, but I will follow up on that and see if I can find out what they have done and what's worked for them.
Sure. I think that's a great idea.
And from the ERC side, we did a workshop last year at the community center that worked out very well on shoreline plantings, and perhaps there's some tree education we could do. And I thought I heard the town council say that they would like to see the community center better utilized. So maybe having a class or a program there would be a good idea.
Okay.
Even if it's tree recognition, walk from there over to the park and take a look at what we've got.
Right. Okay. Well, I think that's something, if we all agree, working by committee, Candace, you and I could work together on that. And these other objectives, my thought today was discuss and assign. So we can kind of move forward. And as we have our monthly meetings, then the subcommittees can come back and report out, okay, this is what we've worked on the last month, or what we've accomplished, or there's no progress. So
Right.
we don't talk about the same thing every meeting. And
One of the
progress.
things that I thought that would be a good idea would be to have plaques made for the park stating what kind of tree it is, and and having them placed at the particular tree so people would
A
have
little
an
more
idea.
educational.
Yeah.
Sure. I think that's a great idea. Okay. So any other items?
Just
you
one
wanna
thing, is
discuss on?
budget on there anywhere?
It is not on the
And
budget.
I'm only thinking of budget in terms of educational things, and because Amy talked to us at the Environmental Resource Committee meeting this morning, that she's putting together her budget for events, and the things that our boards do and committees do would fall under that. So I don't know if we have a need to meet with her to say, here's some ideas we have, because she's on kind of a time crunch for that.
Okay. So is that an action item for you and I? You're thinking to talk budget for educational, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think we
overall?
need, well, for educational, but if there's things like plaques and things that we want, we need to have a list together so Amy can take a look. And
Okay.
so I think do we need to make a motion to do like small work group committees to address these things?
Okay, that was my idea. I'll do it.
Yeah.
Well, I think
Are you
overall-
assigning the committees today? Or are you just
I think that's
coming
her
up with
hope was that
bids?
we could, if not, maybe even just a proposal of here's what we think they'll be, and we can finalize them next week, or next meeting in the interim. We're going to go ahead with these ideas.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I'm in agreement with that.
It's just
I
hard.
guess it
There's
was
just
sort
the
of my
three of
idea.
us. The other
Right.
two aren't here.
What are your thoughts, Susan, on? So we
Well,
would actually, for each of these objectives on our agenda, we would assign a subcommittee and have two people work together. And then at each monthly meeting, we would come back if some activity took place during the month and just report out and make decisions as
Okay.
a total board.
Okay.
If that makes sense. All right.
Well, we have like what? How many? 1, 2, 3, 5.
And we may not be
Yeah.
working on all of them at the
Right.
same time, but at least we can
Right.
get started.
Sure.
So then I
So-
guess I would move that we
Oh, excuse me just for a
establish
second.
working
I
groups.
think it might be proper to make the motion when you know who's going to be assigned to those boards so that it's in the record of who's going to be in charge of the various subcommittees.
So in other words, don't make that decision today overall
I
and
mean, you can
wait.
come to an understanding or an agreement today that this is something you want to do, but I think until you have those people designated, I'd wait and then enter them into the record that that's what you all agree to for those people to be on those committees.
I'm not overruling him.
That's fine.
It's not like there are a lot of us.
Right.
Yeah, there's only
There's
two
only
more.
5 of us, so.
Right. If you know today, then I think you could proceed today. But do you want to assign members who are not here? So that's what they get for not showing up, right?
I don't know that we'd have to assign the people that aren't here, but at least the three of us that are here could agree, here's what we want to work on, or what we can get started with. Some of it I'm worried for, because I know, like, for instance, Amy, if she's going to put together a budget for events, and we want to do some educational events, we need to get her that information pretty quickly, right? Because that's going to be presented to the
Presentations are
council.
March 5th.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can just do this. Let's agree that you and I will meet on the educational events, and maybe meet with Amy with a proposal for here's what we were thinking we might do from the educational side. We can add in something about the plaques, because that's educational. You can give us
That's
what,
educational, right?
yeah, and then we'll go forward with the working committees for next meeting.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
that makes sense to me.
I agree.
Hopefully we'll
Okay.
have,
So do we
full
need to make a
membership here.
motion for that, or we can just agree to do that?
I think you've just agreed.
Okay. We're trying to follow all these rules.
right. All right. So we'll move on to the next old business item, and that's the 2026 tree inventory. And
Okay.
Susan?
Okay. On the 28th of January, I did meet with Matt Sarles and Vicki Todd, and we discussed the various state roads that we have running through the town, and the fact that they don't maintain any of those. So those are not our trees, so to speak. That leaves me, I know that they don't work on them, but are they really trees that we would count in an inventory? I don't know about that. We have to figure that out. For instance, Sunset Boulevard on the mainland to the gazebo. Then at the gazebo, we have the parking lot, which is maintained by the town. North Shore Drive and Main Street on the island are maintained by the state. Georgetown Road area, any of it that's in Sunset Beach would be maintained by the state. Then we have the private entities and HOAs. We have Sea Trails, Sandpiper Bay, Sunset Lane, which is off of 40th, and Riverside, Palm Cove, and Oyster Bay. And I thought of the Gullis Cemetery, which is up behind Walgreens. There are no plaques there anymore, but there are trees around that. I don't know who owns that, so to speak. Now, I thought it would be a good idea to compose either a letter or an email to these HOAs and enlist the help of those organizations in inventorying their trees, because the town doesn't do that. So that might be the next step. Let's see what else. We discussed easements and what trees are private trees and what trees are within the easements. Anything within an easement is a private property, but the town has the ability to go in and rectify, in other words, if a tree is a danger or anything like that. But it's not town trees that we are supposed to be inventorying. They're private trees. So what we have is we have Town Park, Majestic Oak, the gazebo in the parking lot area, and the area in the circle at the bridge and up the bridge there that the town maintains. I think we have to, the next step would be to discuss with the Forest Service what kind of support they can provide to us in inventorying these trees, and then to determine where the trees are and a time for accomplishing this project. How do we identify heritage trees and factor in this study with the gross inventory? Heritage trees might be in other places other than public property. And then I said the contacting the HOAs. And I was wondering if it's possible to get drone photographs of Sunset Beach canopy and perform a tree canopy overview every 2 years. That might be something that we could do to get a bird's eye view of what our trees look like. And it might be a good educational tool as well. That's what I have.
I think the town does have someone that does drone, that can do drone footage, don't they?
Me.
Yes. Sorry.
You're looking at it. We do have the capability to get drone footage. I don't know about flying it to get a tree inventory for every tree.
Yeah. Is that something, could you, or is there someone we can talk to find out if it's even a capability? I mean, it's a big area for a drone
possible,
to do.
But like for the undertaking to be able to do that, our drone has about a 20 or 30 minute flight time. So
you'd have to be mapping it over a long period of time.
I'm sorry.
We'd have to map it over a long
It would
period of time.
it would be a tremendous undertaking, and
Yeah.
me being the only licensed pilot currently,
Okay.
I don't have the time to do it, unfortunately. So I know there are private groups that you could contract with that are available for hire. There are some
Yeah.
local hobbyists. We see their pictures online all the time.
Hmm.
You could maybe ask them. I know Steve Hines from the ERC
Right.
has a drone as well.
I think it may be more than he would want to take on right now, but we've had 2 different people help us with drone footage of the lakes and some of the ponds, so that's a possibility. It's just I'm not sure what's the best way to get a tree canopy assessment, and maybe Forest Service can help us with that. That was a
Yeah.
good suggestion.
So the Forest Service, they do have a grant and some financial assistance programs. I had provided that out. Justin Bennett
Mhm.
sent it to us, and there's a copy. It's a detailed document, so I'm not going to walk through it, but just high level, an inventory definitely is a significant investment of time and resources. And I think that through the Forest Service, there's a great opportunity here for the town. However, for 2026, the application period closes on March 1st. And when you look at the requirements, there are actually 2 practices. So this whole grant is called Climb to Managing Community Projects. So if we were to decide as a tree board to, perform an inventory to make a recommendation to the town to apply for this grant, it's a significant amount of work that definitely wouldn't be done before March 1st. But it does, it involves engaging a qualified professional to help us to do that. And then there are a number of items, whether we do a sample tree inventory, they could do a canopy cover assessment. There's conservation development ordinances, management plans, those types of things. So it's very detailed, which I think is great. It's a great opportunity, but I think it's a longer term. If we wanted to pursue this grant and put this together, even the application itself, which it's online, it's on the last page of this document, but it requires that you have proposals from a consultant, that you have, a list of the project team's names and titles and what the need is and the opportunities and the cost and what the deliverables are going to be. So I feel like at least the funding for this year.
Yeah. It'd have to be next year.
It would have to be next year, but I think that this would be a great framework as long as this funding's available again next year. Again, if we put a small subcommittee together, we could really digest this and start to put it together. And, I think thank you for doing this. I think it's great that you met with Matt and Vicki, and that was definitely the first step in understanding what we have here in the town. I think the fact that we do have state highways coming into all aspects of the town, however, there are trees in the tree lawn, if you want to call it that. We had talked about partnering with some of the state agencies, and I think the Department of Transportation that would take care of those trees, maybe that is something that we would want to, look into, I guess, to partner with them if we wanted to even plant, more trees in Sunset Beach for the enjoyment of our citizens. That's something that was one of our objectives. But I feel like this is something that's going to take some study, some roll up our sleeves, and a lot of time for a couple of us to really get the facts. And
you can't do it in 2 weeks.
No, and even what's in here can be broken down further so that there can be more than one group working on it. But what I like about what you
wasn't
got
there
for us,
something in there there was another deadline in July?
there,
I read online. I don't remember.
Yeah.
There was another deadline in
the
July.
July was the start date, the project start date.
That's right. I do believe there is another grant. And again, there's a number of these, so I think we would have to take a look at what that one was. The July 1st start. I do not believe it was for a tree inventory, and since that was our objective, I kind of focused on this grant when I was reading about it.
Well, one thing about the grant is the work that we would have to do to apply for it. We kind of have to do it anyway, and this gives us a structure, like you said, to put it into. So I think it's really helpful.
Right. I think also we, with the new council and new direction, we need to understand, we were initially giving expectations and duties. This is still, something that we want to do, and it would require some investment to do a tree inventory, and we need to understand the availability of those resources as well. So it would take time, to do that. There are a lot of priorities within the town right now, and so I think it's something that we would have to explore and have some conversation about. And we want to put something together and make a recommendation, but we need some guidance and direction in order to, so we don't head down a road that is going to be a dead-end road, I guess, because it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So.
It might be a dead-end road with no trees.
Which we don't want that.
Okay.
All right. So I guess next steps on the tree inventory. Any other discussion?
I think that we have to get in contact with we have to develop an explanation of what we're doing, and then get in contact with the HOAs and see if they have any information on their trees. Because there's a number of them. So you don't want to have those areas left out.
Well, I think that's something for discussion.
Yeah.
If the town has no responsibility for those trees, and yet we have these areas that are town parks, we have the fire stations, we have town hall. Do we initially focus the inventory on those specific public trees that the town is responsible for managing, and then expand it? I think that's something that, again, requires some more examination.
I think I agree.
It would be an educational tool as well as explaining to people what we're doing and what we do. So sure. I think that's,
So that might be like a second phase to it, because it'd be wonderful to have that information. If I look at something like Sea Trail, though, and I think how much Riptide is having to take out and then replace, it'd be really hard for them to do it right now, I think. So some of those areas would just be hard for those HOAs and people to comply. But if we can get the system down so we can do it for the town trees, we can explain to people, here's what we need to do. Maybe get some more.
I would agree with that.
But it would help us a lot, I think, if we could have the Forest Service come back and work with us on, and I think they said they may be able to come back and do some training for us to get started.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think another meeting with them would be helpful.
Yeah. And if they're coming down if they do end up being able to come for Arbor Day, I wonder if that might be a day we could spend some time with them while they're here.
You can definitely inquire about that.
Okay.
The other piece of it, when you step back and think about, so why a tree inventory? We gather the information, we understand what trees are, how many we have. The next is the maintenance plan and any replacement or just future plantings. And I wondered, in your discussion with Matt and Vicki, did you talk at all about any of that? Like, what are currently, is there a maintenance schedule in place, I guess is what I'm asking. Did you have any of that?
We didn't discuss that.
Okay.
We were talking about primarily what were town trees.
Okay.
And, that was pretty much the basis of the conversation. I didn't ask them.
Sure. Okay. I think that's another important piece to, when we look at our objectives and working together in partnership, it's with our public works as well to understand what we're currently doing and what's on task for this year.
Susan, I'm looking at this again, and so like the areas, you've got the town of Sunset Beach, the areas that the town is responsible for: Town Park, Majestic Oak Park, the gazebo area in the Circle to the Bridge. What about the town roads like Clubhouse Road going through Sea Trail? I believe that's a town.
Those are private roads, I believe.
I don't think the Clubhouse Road is, and I don't know if there's others. Do you know? It's a town road.
Well,
it is a town road. Also in this document, it says North Shore Drive is not a town road. It is a town road.
North Shore, and I know Lakeshore Drive is a town road.
It is.
So one thing we could do is get a map of the town and actually go through with somebody like Matt and mark off the streets that we're responsible for, and then at least we know physically, here's where we're going to have to inventory.
I already did that, but pretty much. But I think some of the information I have needs adjustment.
Yeah.
So you did receive a map from them?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I just took something I
Okay.
had, yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I think that was one of our other questions that we talked about asking them is, are there mapping resources available? I don't know if there's any GIS paper maps, because that would help significantly with the
Mhm.
tree inventory and just understanding, like you said,
Yeah.
where the public trees are here in town.
And then the trees that are around the town ponds and the lakes.
Well, the thing is, they told me that the only, from the island, on the island, the only area that they maintain is the gazebo there,
Mhm.
on the main street. And I said, not on Main Street, but, one. So I said, well, what about all the coming up the ramp and all
Mhm.
that? They do maintain that. But I'm not clear on that, It's a state road. So they said that they don't maintain it, but they do maintain it, but they don't, I don't know. I have
All
to,
right, we'll look further.
Yeah.
I have to
Further.
get back and get,
Yeah. This is why we need a little working committee on that, because that's
Yeah.
a lot of work.
when I
It is.
started to do the maps, I'm going, wait a minute, what about this? What about
Yeah.
that?
Well, that's just a couple of roads that we can think about. I'm sure we can get a better inventory of what are the town roads
Right.
that then I think they maintain.
Now, I was told that the North Shore was a state road, but it's not? No.
It's a town road.
Okay, good. Well, that takes that off.
Mhm.
All right, but
In Shoreline,
Main Street is a state road.
That's correct.
Shoreline Drive, which would be the Shoreline Drive
East,
East, is that a town road?
it is.
Okay. So
West
But
is
West
not.
is not.
Correct.
West is state. Okay, well, we have a very good start, and we'll addend it as we learn better. Thank you for
So
doing
I
that.
will work
Yes,
on a
thank you.
map and get it squared away.
Mhm. Okay.
So is that something for the subcommittee? Because the other thought I had is, do we have Matt and Vicky come and talk to whole tree board, what's available? Are there hard copy maps? Is there a GIS system that could be utilized for a tree inventory? So just throwing it out there, is that more of a subcommittee? We can get those. I guess they're maybe devil in the details, but
I think getting
Or is
a
it-
map together is probably kind of a working subcommittee
okay.
thing, because they could meet, and it may just be easier
Mhm.
because Matt and Vicky would have to be here at our specific time, but a working group could meet with them at their convenience,
Sure.
and then come back and present it, and then we can figure out. Maybe part of what he's thinking is he doesn't maintain a lot of those trees because some of them are on private property, but I know they're not all on private property, because last year we had before tree board was in existence, we had some questions about tree health, and I went around, Steve Hines and I went with Dustin to look at trees, and there were a few that you would think, oh, that's on somebody's property. He's like, no, that's in the area we maintain. So we may actually need to have somebody ride around with us when we get to the inventory part to tell us that's our tree and that's not. This one is and this isn't.
Okay.
Funny things, those trees.
Okay.
So in our next meeting, then, in terms of assigning a subcommittee, we would, based on our earlier discussion, we would assign a subcommittee. You're still interested in? Are you still interested on the tree
Sure.
inventory?
Sure.
Okay. So we'll find a partner for you. I know John has some experience, I believe, in potentially this arena. I know he said to volunteer him, but since
Yeah.
he's not here, we'll chat with him in the next meeting. See if we can add him
Okay.
to that. All right, the next item on our agenda is the 2026 Arbor Day celebration. Candace, would you provide an update on that?
We've been meeting with Amy, and as Becky said, she's been in touch with the North Carolina Forestry Service, and I believe the date is going to be March 20th, which is Friday, at 11:30? 11. And where originally we had talked about planting a tree, which is a requirement for Arbor Day, that we do a tree planting, We had been planning to do it on at the Majestic Oaks Park, but it won't be, the timing's not right. So instead, we're going to plant one in front of the fire department. And Becky and I, as we were looking at tree recommendations for our environment and then looking at the size of that property, we had thought a good choice might be a magnolia. It's called a butterfly magnolia. It tends to form a very small tree instead of being a shrub type magnolia with yellow flowers in the spring. And being magnolia, it's native to, should do well in our area.
So we wanted to propose that tree, and March 20th isn't that far away. We could work with Amy to get it ordered, and it is available at Hughes & Hughes. So.
And then I think we'll have the mayor is going to make a proclamation. Is that correct? And
So the proclamation is all set. Kimberly wrote it, and the mayor's already signed it. So we have it, and we have a copy of it for the ceremony itself. We'll extend some invitations to all the town council members, to the mayor, to ask him to speak. We just need to decide who's going to be involved in the actual shovel tree planting, so we have enough shovels. And we will get a press release out, which has already been written. Kimberly worked on that with Sean Arnold, and we have that ready. So we will get that out to all the local media outlets as well, so that we can get a little bit of press coverage for it. Just wasn't sure what other items you would like to do at the event itself. So
I mentioned earlier, I think it's a great opportunity for educational. So if we come up with something that we would like to just hand out, maybe more about Tree City USA, what the requirements are, or just the benefits of trees, kind of what we've done at some of the events that we've already had.
Absolutely. And in my office, I have the plaque as well, so we can have that there. And we did get a flag, which we'll be able to hang and kind of have as the backdrop behind the podium, which will come down there. So
that's great.
Thank you.
In the future, I think it's too quick now, but so I went onto the National Arbor Day Foundation and looked at Tree City celebrations and what some communities do. So the Arbor Day Foundation does offer tree seedlings. They're bare root, they're small, they're inexpensive, but you can order bundles of 50. So maybe in the future, that's something that we could offer to citizens or residents rather, that attend. But I think it is an opportunity just to, really celebrate the Tree City USA, as well as disseminate some information out there, build some community.
Thanks, Amy.
All right. The next item on our agenda is 2026 partnerships with state agencies. We talked about that a little bit at our last meeting. I know specifically we want to really develop the relationship with the Forest Service, and I think we've made good headway so far, but just get them further engaged and involved as their resources allow. Are there others that we want to specifically focus on?
I think in the long term there may be, but we've got a lot on our plate for this year, and I think if we could develop a solid relationship with them, and then if we see other opportunities as we go along, we could add them in. But that's probably our most important one, at least this year.
Sure. The other one I mentioned earlier was the Department of Transportation. We do have the 904 corridor study underway, and I was asked to participate in that as representing the tree board. We have kind of the final meeting coming up in March, so I can report out on that at our next meeting. I know that's down the road a little bit, but an opportunity for tree board involvement and tree plantings and beautification, hopefully along that corridor. There should be some opportunities there.
That's a great idea. And I think we're really lucky because Planning Board is looking at what may be some new opportunities for us. I think we'll hear more about that.
Great. Okay, anything else with that one? All right, the next is the Majestic Oak Park planned. We discussed that briefly. We've been we actually have developed a list of trees and shrubs proposed for the park, and we're really just waiting on some direction. So I don't know if there's any update on that, or if it's just one we're waiting to see, where things go, what the timing is. I believe the timing has changed. We thought it might be early spring.
The new council is going to be presented with information about the Majestic Oaks project at the first meeting in April.
Okay.
So that's where we're at with that right now. But I know the engineers are working on phase 1.
So just kind of an FYI, Lisa Anglin had asked Tree Board to look at some landscaping recommendations, primarily, like as Becky said, what kinds of trees would work in this environment, what shrubs or grasses, and so on. Is that something you would like us to update you on what we've already done, or just wait till we see what's going to come?
I would wait until you see what's going to come, because I know there was 2 renderings of what the park might look like initially, and until the new council is able to see it and approve, I guess, the direction of the park, I would wait.
Okay. All right. So that concludes old business. We will move on to new business. The adoption of the NCSOG suggested rules of procedure for local appointed boards. Really, is this where you take over? No? Well, we all received a copy. And would you like to comment on that, Chief?
Sure. I hope you've had an opportunity to review it. So these are rules of procedure for appointed boards. And so at the direction of council, each of our boards and committees are asked to adopt these rules and follow them as their procedure for every one of their regular meetings.
Okay.
That's what's before you today.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
I'll just say the ERC looked at these this morning, and we just asked to have a little more time, mainly because there's just a lot of open language and things we weren't sure how that would apply, because we don't meet in the same way. We're, as John pointed out this morning, we're not a governing committee, we're not a governance committee, we're an advisory board. So I don't know if we want to postpone this until our next meeting, where hopefully we have full attendance. I don't think
I read it, but I need to read it more.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to speak with one of the council members this morning after. I just happened to run it, and they were telling me that what they are hoping just is that our meetings are organized, and that it's very clear if we're taking a decision, it's clear what we're discussing and what the outcome is in doing decisive voting and things like that, to make that clear, following our agendas and so on. So I felt better about it. It's kind of, and she says it's really just Robert's Rules of Order, following the North Carolina statutes. But I feel bad doing this when only 3 of the 5 of us are here.
Sure. I mean, I read through it as well several times, and it is a lot to take in. Some of it applies, some of it doesn't, some of it's I may not fully understand, and then executing it well is going to take practice. So I'm in support of deferring till we have the other 2 members and make sure that John and Steve had an opportunity to take a look at it. Again, it's on the agenda, and I know we will need to adopt it, but is that acceptable to have further discussion in the next meeting?
I think if similar to what the ERC board did, was they tabled it, and there were some changes that they wanted to suggest in there, and those might require legal review if they want to propose changes. I don't know that you want to adopt this if you still want to give your other members the opportunity to review it. You do have a quorum, so that's entirely up to you.
Okay. Well, I think in fairness to them, I'd like to put it on the next meeting's agenda. Have them review it, and then all
Go
5 of
from
us
there.
can, adopt
Okay.
it from there.
So does this require a motion to move? We're trying to be official.
You would need a motion to table it.
Okay.
Right? Do I hear a motion to table?
I move that we table till the next meeting.
A second.
Second.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, and then the next new business item is the North Carolina Coastal Land Trust, the host of COAST program. So we received an email and were asked to review that. I know it really was sent to Steve Hines and the ERC. I don't know if you discussed that in your meeting this morning.
What was it?
It's the North Coast Coastal Land Trust. It's a host of the coast. There were a couple things in the email. One was where basically rentals would donate $1 towards this trust, and the
okay,
money would
recall
go
that.
to the trust. That was
Mhm.
one aspect of it. The other, the document talked about there was a collaboration, multiple agencies across the state
Mhm.
focused on removing Bradford Calorie Pear. And basically, it was a bounty program where the property owner would pay to cut the tree down, provide proof that they cut the tree down, and then the town would provide a native plant back for however many trees they cut down. So that was something that there was a focus on natives and just replacing native trees where the Bradford Calorie Pear is a very invasive and it spreads and not the best for the environment.
Some of the trees, when I lived over on Shoreline Drive East, we lost 3 oak trees, and they were all quite old, but there was no saving them. I mean, we tried to save them and had to cut them down, but they were on our property. And if there had been a program to replant similar oak trees, I would have been happy to do that.
And this is focused specifically for the Bradford Calorie Pears, and the state actually has some grant money. The state Forestry Service, there was the Urban Forestry Council, the Extension, North Carolina State Extension was involved with it, and the Wildlife Federation. So, it was something that they were really focused on. But initially, like I said, this email kind of went to Steve Hines asking if it's something that ERC and maybe Tree Board from an educational standpoint would be interested in. And Amy, I think you forwarded it out. I don't know if you have any further insights or comments on what you'd like us to consider with it.
So I received that email from a local resident, and she had explained that other towns, as part of their rental fees for short-term rentals, they add on, was it a penny, $1?
That was
$1
Yeah.
per night for the rentals, and then that additional $1 all gets pulled into a fund, which is donated to Coastal Federation. I can't remember exactly what that was. So I think that the idea was that if you could look into it a little bit further, understand the program a little bit better. I think the email lists out what other town is doing it, so we might be able to find that information out. I want to say it's Holden, but that money is then gathered into a pot and then donated from the town into to these to help protect the shoreline. So if that's something that you all feel strongly about between the ERC and the tree board, then the recommendation would come from you and you would propose it to council, and then council would discuss and make a decision if that was something that they wanted to do. But you wouldn't have to you would just learn about it, present it to the council, and then the decision would be in the council's hands. It wouldn't be something that you guys would decide. Is that correct, Ken? Okay.
It's not really a donation if you add it to someone's
Bill.
fee when
Yeah.
they're renting a house. I mean, it's not a donation,
Mhm.
it's required.
You know, I feel like there's so much already going on the island with, you know, questions about parking and the changes there, and I hate to suggest, and I just hate to suggest anything else right now that's going to add to expenses out there.
I feel if it's protection of the coast, it's a little more ERC oriented
It's
versus,
not the tree board, I don't think.
well, this Bradford Cal
Mhm.
repair, it's interesting because
the
that was
repair,
in the
right.
same email
Yeah,
of that
that is.
some of the money goes towards that, but I didn't get the sense that they were one and the same. Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe I got them a little confused there, but I mean, is it
One
something?
thing, maybe from the tree board side, what we could investigate is whether or not there is a Bradford Pear bounty for Brunswick County that we could use to encourage residents to replace them if they have them. Because I don't know if we've got that. I could probably find out from the extension.
Yeah, they were a part of that. So.
Yeah, I'll find out up there.
Okay. And then in terms of this further discussion of this Coast of the Coast, is it something you'd want to talk with Steve about, with ERC, and see if?
I kind of like Amy's suggestion that we investigate it and figure out what it really is.
Sure.
Under
the, I guess I'm just asking tree board or ERC.
Doesn't really sound like tree board. I don't know if it's ERC either, because I don't know. It sounds like we're asking the town to donate a bunch of money to a coastal initiative thing, when the town could just take the money itself, couldn't it?
Well, it's
I don't know what it takes to add money to like that whole. What's the name of that tax that they get for yeah, the accommodation tax. I don't have a sense for what it takes to actually add something to that and then collect it and distribute it out. It sounds kind of like it could be an administrative burden, but I think we can maybe table it for tree board. Tree board can look at the Bradford Pear bounty thing. And if there's maybe there's other invasive trees that we should be looking at and discouraging and educating people about. But I think the other thing does not belong here.
Okay. And in terms of the, so I guess I agree with that. So just to finish, the land trust, the coastal land trust, that's something that we'll look at outside of tree board. And the tree bounty, I think as well, really the collaboration was that the town would offer replacement native trees, so that there would be a resource and a funding requirement, and the state may have a grant around that. So I think it requires more investigation as well.
Right. And so I think that would be something that if the county or state has some program to offer that, then we could recommend it to council to evaluate. But I think if there's no funding for it, then that's an educational process for us to tell people this might be a tree to think about.
Right.
And luckily or unluckily, Bradfords aren't that long-lived.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you. So the next item, are there any public comments at this time?
Good afternoon. I'm Stuart Jones. I'm with the Town of Sunset Beach Planning Board, and I just wanted to come before you today to kind of present what's going on with the land use plan that the Planning Board is working on. I wanted to kind of give you a schedule of some of the things that are coming up and hopefully keep you guys engaged with what's going on. So some of the scheduling items that are coming up, the contractor that we're working with on the land use plan is working kind of chapter by chapter on updates to the land use plan. And so almost every planning board meeting for a while, you're going to hear different descriptions of different chapters of the land use plan and what's going on. So some of those chapters may apply to the tree board and some may not. But again, I would encourage you to get engaged, stay involved with the planning board and what we're doing. coming up tomorrow, contractor is going to address natural systems. And so that might be an interesting crossover for the tree board. We'll be reviewing some of his chapter 1 and chapter 2 things that he sent in before. And then coming up March or April, it would be our first public engagement process. So that would be a time for the consultant to put up maps and picture boards and things like that and have the public come. And I would love for the tree board to be a part of that too, you know, making recommendations or just providing your own comments about trees and how they affect the land use plan. After that, we've got chapter 5 coming up in June. And then there's another, let's see, chapter 4 in May, and then chapter 5 in June. There's another public engagement session coming up July, August timeframe. And then following that, it'll go to planning board for recommendation and then on to council right after that. So this is going to move pretty quick. So again, I just want to make sure everybody's understanding what's going on and try and keep you engaged. There is the survey that's out there. It's on the town website. And if you click on that survey, Kimberly's now changed it so that you can do the survey and you can also click on the website for the land use plan. So the contractor is going to be updating, you know, things that go on the website as we progress through all this. So that's some of the schedule. There are 2 things that I wanted to kind of point out that are kind of a push for the planning board. So the land use plan is kind of a big picture view of where we want to go in the future. So the name of the land use plan right now is Charting the Course 2040. So we're looking 14 years out into the future. But we wanted to kind of push the envelope and dive down a little bit deeper and see if we could get more details on what we're working on. So we have proposed 2 additional services items to the contractor who's coming back with a price. And those 2, we're calling them focus areas. One would be Sunset Boulevard. And that would, part of this would be identifying streetscape character elements for Sunset Boulevard from 179 to the roundabout, including building placements, parking locations, sidewalks, street trees, landscaping, and building signage. So again, if we have a separate consultant that's working on these kind of typical street elevation kind of looks, I would love for the tree board to be part of that too, because again, I'm kind of focused on what is this view of Sunset Boulevard even after it's developed. We've got a lot of undeveloped properties on Sunset Boulevard, but we need to make sure that when they do develop, we don't lose the character or the integrity of how it looks right now. The second focus item is the island itself. And everybody thinks that the island's mostly developed, but there's still a lot of things that can and need to happen on the island. And so this focus area would be trying to identify character elements on the island, parking locations, critical sidewalk locations around the island. We have a new park and we have no sidewalks to the park. Street trees, again, landscape improvements around the island, as the island garden committee is working on right now. Potential new parks, viewing areas, and maybe even potential public art locations. So again, that could tie into some of the tree inventory or the trees that we have on the island, and how do we address some educational opportunities on the island, because the island environment is very different from the mainland environment. So those are 2 items that we're kind of pushing for. So we would love your support on that too. And I'll be glad to answer any questions if you have any. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Well, at this point, I think we're ready for adjournment.
I move that we adjourn.
Do I have a second?
A second?
All in favor to
Aye.
adjourn? Aye. Any opposed? All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you.